Hey everyone, today we're diving into a true story that'll leave you stunned. What would you do if you found out your mother-in-law told your child she wished you were dead? Names and details have been changed to protect their privacy. This is my story, and it's one that still haunts me. When my 6-year-old daughter, Lily, came to me with tears in her eyes, whispering words no child should ever hear, my world turned upside down. How could someone so close to us harbor such venom? Let's uncover the truth together. I'm Sarah, a 32-year-old mom, married to Mark for 8 years. We live in a quiet suburb, the kind of place where neighbors wave and kids ride bikes until dusk. Mark's a devoted dad, but his mother, Diane, has always been a shadow over our marriage. She's the type who smiles to your face but judges every move behind your back. From the moment I met her, I felt her disapproval, like I was never good enough for her golden boy. I tried to brush it off, thinking time would soften her edges. But what she did to my daughter crossed a line I never imagined. It started on a rainy Saturday. Lily was playing in her room, quieter than usual. I called her for dinner, but she didn't budge. When I checked on her, she was curled up on her bed, clutching her stuffed bunny. "Mommy," she whispered. "Grandma said something bad." My heart sank. Kids don't lie about that kind of thing, do they? I knelt beside her, stroking her hair. "What did Grandma say, sweetheart?" Her voice trembled. "She said she wished you died in the car crash last year." My breath caught. The room spun. Diane, my mother-in-law, had said that to my child. I tried to stay calm for Lily's sake. "When did she say this?" I asked. She sniffled. "Last week, when she babysat me." My mind raced back to that day. Diane had offered to watch Lily while I ran errands. It seemed like a kind gesture at the time. Now, it felt like a trap. I hugged Lily tight, promising her everything was okay. But inside, I was raging. How could Diane say something so cruel? And why? What had I done to deserve this? The car crash Lily mentioned happened a year ago. I was rear-ended at a stoplight. Nothing fatal, but it left me with a concussion and a fractured wrist. I spent a week in the hospital, and Mark was by my side every day. Diane, though she barely visited. When she did, her concern felt hollow, like she was checking a box. I chalked it up to her being distant. But Lily's words painted a darker picture. Was Diane hiding resentment so deep she wished me gone? I tucked Lily into bed, her small hand gripping mine. As I kissed her forehead, I felt a fire ignite inside me. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. Diane had crossed into my daughter's world, poisoning her with hate. I needed answers. Why would she say something so vile? And what else had she done behind my back? My gut told me this wasn't a one-off. This was a glimpse into a truth I'd been blind to for years. As I sat in the dark, staring at the ceiling, I replayed every interaction with Diane. The snide comments about my cooking, the way she'd undermine my parenting in front of Lily. I'd always swallowed my pride, thinking I was keeping the peace. But peace at what cost? My daughter's heart was broken, and I was to blame for letting Diane get this close. Could I confront her without tearing our family apart? What would you do if you were me? The next morning, I woke with a resolve I hadn't felt before. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore, I was fighting for Lily. Diane's words weren't just an attack on me. They were an assault on my daughter's innocence. I had to protect her, no matter what. But where do you start when the enemy is family? The truth was out there, waiting to be faced. I just didn't know how ugly it would get. The weight of Lily's words clung to me like damp clothes after a storm. I couldn't shake the image of my daughter, so small and trusting, hearing her grandmother wish I was gone. As I poured my morning coffee, my hands trembled not from fear, but from a growing fury. I needed to understand how we got here, how Diane's resentment festered into something so vicious. To do that, I had to look back at the cracks in our family, the ones I'd ignored for too long. Mark and I met 10 years ago at a friend's barbecue. He was charming, with a laugh that made everyone feel at ease. I fell hard, and within a year, we were engaged. Diane, though, was a hurdle from the start. At our first meeting, she sized me up, like I was a used car checking for flaws. "You're a teacher," she'd said, her tone dripping with skepticism. "That's noble." I laughed it off, but the sting lingered. Mark swore she was just protective, but I sensed she saw me as an outsider, someone who'd stolen her son. When we married, Diane's presence loomed larger. She'd drop by unannounced, rearrange my kitchen, or suggest how to raise Lily once she was born. I'd bite my tongue, not wanting to rock the boat. Mark adored his mom, and I didn't want to be the wife who forced him to choose. But her comments grew sharper over time. "You let Lily watch too much TV," she'd say. "Or Mark deserves a wife who keeps a tidier house." I'd smile and change the subject, but each jab chipped away at me. Lily's birth seemed to deepen Diane's resentment. She'd hover when we visited, insisting on holding Lily for hours, as if I couldn't be trusted. Once, she snapped, "You're too soft with her, she'll grow up spoiled." I was stunned, but stayed quiet, thinking I was being the bigger person. Looking back, I see how I let her cross boundaries. Believing family meant enduring. Have you ever stayed silent to keep the peace, only to regret it later? Mark wasn't blind to the tension, but he downplayed it. "Mom's just old school," he'd say. "She means well." I wanted to believe him, so I did. But there were moments that gnawed at me, like when Diane gave Lily a dollhouse for her 4th birthday, saying, "This is from Grandma, because Mommy doesn't know what you really like." Lily beamed, oblivious to the dig, but I felt it like a slap. I should have called it out then, but I didn't. Why was I so afraid of conflict? Our blended family dynamic didn't help. Mark's older sister, Karen, lived across the country and rarely visited, leaving Diane to focus her attention and control on us. She'd call Mark daily, sometimes crying about how lonely she was since his dad passed. I sympathized at first, but her neediness grew suffocating. She'd guilt Mark into long visits, leaving me to manage Lily alone. I started to feel like the third wheel in my own marriage. By the time of my accident, the cracks were glaring. Diane's coldness during my recovery, barely checking in, never offering help, felt personal. I told myself she was just busy. But Lily's revelation made me question everything. Had Diane been nursing this hatred all along? Was her comment to Lily a slip? Or something more calculated? The thought sent chills through me. What kind of person says that to a child? As I sipped my coffee, staring out the kitchen window, I realized I'd been naive. Diane wasn't just difficult, she was toxic. Her words to Lily weren't a mistake. They were a glimpse into her heart. But confronting her meant risking everything Mark's loyalty, our family's fragile balance. Could I protect Lily without losing my husband? The truth was out there, and it was uglier than I'd ever imagined. What would you do if you saw the real face of someone you called family? The memory of my car accident still feels like a bruise. I can't stop pressing. It was a crisp October morning, the kind where the air smells like leaves and promise. I was driving to pick up Lily from school when a pickup truck slammed into me at a stoplight. The world spun, glass shattered, metal crunched, and then silence. I woke up in the hospital, my head pounding, my left wrist in a cast, a concussion, and a fracture. The doctor said I'd be fine, but recovery would take weeks. Mark was there, holding my hand, his eyes red from worry. But Diane, her absence spoke louder than any words. She visited once, 3 days after the crash. I was still groggy, hooked to an IV when she swept in, her purse clutched like a shield. "You're lucky it wasn't worse," she said, her voice flat. No hug, no warmth, just a quick glance before she turned to Mark. "You must be exhausted, honey. Let me take you for coffee." I lay there, stunned. As they left, I told myself she was just stressed. But the truth was, I felt invisible. Have you ever felt someone's indifference cut deeper than their words? Recovery was brutal. Between physical therapy and headaches, I leaned on Mark and my sister, Jess, for help with Lily. Diane offered nothing. No meals, no babysitting, not even a call to check in. When I mentioned it to Mark, he shrugged. "Mom's not great with hospitals," he said. I let it go, too tired to argue. But a coldness lingered, a quiet warning I didn't heed. Looking back, I wonder if she saw my accident as an opportunity, a chance to wish me gone without saying it. Until she did. Lily's words about Diane's cruelty brought those hospital days rushing back. I started piecing together the timeline. The accident happened a year ago, and Diane's comment to Lily was recent last week, when she babysat. Why now? What had triggered her to say something so vile to my daughter? I replayed every moment since the crash, searching for clues. Diane had been distant. Sure. But she'd also been bolder with her jabs. Like when she told me, "You're not as strong as you think." As I struggled with my wrist brace, I'd laughed it off. But now it felt like a threat. I called Jess that afternoon, needing someone to ground me. She said what to. "Lily." Jess gasped. "Sarah, that's not just mean it's evil." She urged me to confront Diane, but I hesitated. Confrontation meant opening a wound I wasn't sure I could close. What if Mark sided with his mom? What if Lily got caught in the crossfire? Jess didn't back down. "You're her mom," she said. "Protect her, no matter what." Her words lit a fire in me, but fear still gnawed. Could I face Diane without losing everything? As I hung up, I thought about Lily's face, her confusion, her hurt. Diane hadn't just attacked me. She'd weaponized my daughter's trust. The accident had left me vulnerable. But I wasn't weak. I'd survived that crash, rebuilt my strength, and now I had to fight for my family. But how do you fight someone who's family, too? The answer was out there, buried in Diane's resentment. I just had to find it. That night, I sat Mark down after Lily was asleep. "We need to talk about your mom," I said, my voice steady, despite the knot in my stomach. His face tightened, like he knew this was coming. "What now?" he asked. I took a deep breath, ready to tell him what Lily heard. Would he believe me? Or would he defend Diane? Like always. The truth was about to collide with our marriage, and I wasn't sure we'd survive the impact. "What would you do if your spouse's loyalty was split?" Mark's eyes narrowed as I sat across from him, the kitchen clock ticking like a heartbeat. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Lily told me something last night," I said, my voice low but firm. "Your mom told her she wished I'd died in the car crash." The words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. Mark blinked, his face a mix of shock and disbelief. "What? No way. Lily must have misunderstood." His denial stung, but I expected it. Diane was his mom, after all. I leaned forward, holding his gaze. Lily was clear. "Mark, she was scared. Your mom said it when she babysat last week." He ran a hand through his hair, looking away. "That doesn't sound like her," he muttered. "Maybe Lily got it wrong. She's only 6. My stomach twisted. Was he really going to dismiss our daughter's pain? "Mark?" "She was crying," I said, my voice rising. "She didn't make this up. Why would she?" He sighed, slumping back in his chair. "I don't know. Sarah, this is a lot." I wanted to scream, but I kept my cool. Losing it now wouldn't help, Lily. "Have you ever had to convince someone you love to see the truth?" I recounted every detail, Lily's trembling voice, her stuffed bunny clutched tight, the way she whispered, "Grandma said you should have died." Mark listened, his jaw tightening, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. "Okay," he said finally. "Let's say she said it. Why would Mom do that? She's not perfect, but she's not cruel." I wanted to shake him. Not cruel. Diane had been undermining me for years, and he'd brushed it off. But this wasn't about old grudges. This was about our daughter. I don't know why, I admitted, but I'm going to find out. Lily deserves that. Mark nodded slowly, but his silence spoke volumes. He wasn't ready to face his mom's darkness. I couldn't wait for him to catch up. The next morning, I called Diane. My hands shook as I dialed, but I wasn't backing down. "We need to talk," I said when she answered, her voice chipper as always. "Can you come over?" She hesitated, then agreed, saying she'd be there in an hour. My heart raced. This was it, the moment I'd confront the woman who'd hurt my child. When Diane arrived, she breezed in like nothing was wrong, her smile as fake as ever. "Where's my little Lily?" she cooed, glancing around. I cut her off. "Lily's at school. This is about what you said to her." Her smile faltered, just for a second, but it was enough to confirm my suspicions. She knew. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her tone sharp. I didn't flinch. "You told Lily you wished I'd died in the car crash. Why would you say that to a 6-year-old? My voice was steady, but inside, I was a storm. Diane's face hardened, her eyes narrowing. "I don't know what you're accusing me of, Sarah, but I'd never hurt Lily." The lie was so blatant, it almost made me laugh. "Lily was devastated," I said. "She told me everything. Don't lie to me. Diane, for a moment." She said nothing, her lips pressed tight. Then she leaned forward, her voice low. "You've always been dramatic, haven't you? Twisting things to make me the villain?" My blood boiled. She wasn't just denying it, she was attacking me. How do you stay calm when someone gaslights you like that? I took a step closer, my voice cold. This isn't about me. It's about my daughter. You crossed a line, and I want to know why. Diane stood, grabbing her purse. I don't have to listen to this, she snapped, heading for the door. You're tearing this family apart. The door slammed behind her, and I stood there, shaking. She hadn't admitted it, but her reaction said enough. The truth was unraveling, and it was uglier than I'd feared. What would you do if you knew the fight was just beginning? Diane's slam door echoed in my ears. But her defiance only fueled my resolve. I wasn't done, not by a long shot. She thought she could dodge this with a tantrum. But I wasn't the timid daughter-in-law she'd pushed around for years. Lily's tear-streaked face was burned into my mind, and I'd fight to my last breath to protect her. I paced the living room, my thoughts racing. Diane's denial wasn't just a lie, it was a shield. What was she hiding? I needed to know the root of her hatred. And I wasn't letting her slip away. I called Jess again, my voice shaking with adrenaline. She didn't even apologize. I said, recounting the confrontation. She called me dramatic. Like I'm the one hurting Lily. Jess didn't hesitate. Sarah, she's gaslighting you. You need to dig deeper. This isn't just a mean comment, it's personal. Her words hit hard. Personal. Diane's resentment wasn't random. It was targeted. But why I'd spent years trying to win her over, swallowing her insults to keep the peace. What had I done to make her wish me dead? That night, I sat with a glass of wine, replaying every interaction with Diane. Her memory surfaced, one I'd buried because it hurt too much. 2 years ago, at a family barbecue, Diane had pulled me aside. You're not what I pictured for Mark, she'd said, her voice low. He could have done better. I'd laughed it off, thinking she was just being blunt. But now it felt like a clue. She didn't just dislike me. She resented my place in her son's life. Was that enough to make her say something so cruel to Lily? I decided to talk to Mark's sister, Karen, hoping she'd have insight. Karen and Diane weren't close, but she knew her mom's patterns. I called her the next day, explaining everything: Lily's confession, Diane's denial, the confrontation. Karen sighed. Mom's always been possessive of Mark, she said. When Dad died, she leaned on him like he was her husband, not her son. You coming into the picture. That was a threat. My stomach churned. A threat enough to wish me gone. Karen's words unlocked something. Diane's jabs, her neediness with Mark, her coldness after my accident, they weren't just quirks. They were pieces of a puzzle. She saw me as competition, someone stealing her son's loyalty. But saying that to Lily, that was a new level of malice. She's never liked how independent you are, Karen added. You challenge her control. I thanked her, my mind spinning. Control. That was the key. Diane wanted to rule our family, and I was in her way. I confronted Diane again, this time at her house. I didn't call ahead, I just showed up, my heart pounding. She opened the door, her face souring. What now? Sarah? I didn't waste time. I know why you said it, I said, stepping inside. You hate that I'm Mark's wife? That I don't bow to you? But hurting Lily? That's unforgivable. Her eyes flashed, but she didn't deny it. You think you're so perfect? She spat. Mark was fine before you. I was fine. There it was, her truth. Raw and ugly. I stood my ground. You don't get to decide who belongs in this family, and you don't get to hurt my daughter. Diane laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Your daughter? She's my granddaughter. You can't keep her from me. My blood ran cold. Was she threatening to fight for Lily? I turned and left, her words chasing me. This wasn't just about resentment anymore. It was a power struggle. What would you do if someone tried to claim your child to hurt you? As I drove home, my hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles whitened. Diane's hatred was deeper than I'd imagined, and she wasn't backing down. I had to protect Lily. But at what cost? Mark was still on the fence, and I couldn't do this alone. The fight was escalating, and I was running out of time to keep my family whole. Diane's words echoed in my head as I drove home, her bitter laugh cutting deeper than I'd expected. She wasn't just fighting me. She was claiming ownership over Lily, over our family. My hands shook on the steering wheel, not from fear, but from a primal need to shield my daughter. I'd uncovered the root of Diane's hatred. But now, I faced a harder battle. Mark. He was caught between his mom and me, and his hesitation was a crack in our marriage I couldn't ignore. Could I make him see the truth without losing him? When I got home, Mark was in the living room, scrolling on his phone. Lily was asleep upstairs, her door cracked open. I sat across from him, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I went to your mom's today, I said. His head snapped up, eyes wary. Sarah, what did you do? I told him everything: Diane's admission, her resentment, her claim on Lily. His face darkened, but he didn't interrupt. When I finished, he leaned back, rubbing his temples. This is insane, he muttered. She's my mom. Sarah. She wouldn't hurt Lily. I wanted to scream. She already did. Mark. She told our daughter she wished I was dead. My voice cracked, and I hated it. I needed him to hear me, not pity me. He stood, pacing. Okay. But what if it was a mistake? Maybe she was upset, said something stupid. I stared at him, disbelief burning in my chest. A mistake. Diane's words were a knife, and he was calling it a slip. Have you ever felt your partner choose denial over your pain? I talked to Karen, I said, trying to keep my tone even. She said, your mom's been possessive of you since your dad died. She sees me as a threat. Mark stopped pacing, his jaw tight. Karen doesn't know everything. She's barely around. I pressed on. Diane admitted it. Mark, she said you were fine before me. She wants control, and she's using Lily to get it. He shook his head, but I saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes. For the first time, he was listening. That night, we lay in bed, the silence heavy. What do you want me to do? He finally asked. I turned to him, my heart aching. Choose us. Protect Lily. Your mom crossed a line, and we can't pretend it didn't happen. He didn't answer, but his hand found mine in the dark. It wasn't a promise, but it was something. The next day, he called Diane. I listened from the kitchen, my pulse racing. Mom, we need to talk about what you said to Lily, he said, his voice firm. Diane's response was muffled, but I heard her tone defensive, sharp. Mark hung up, looking drained. She says she didn't mean it like that, that Lily misunderstood. I clenched my fist. She's lying. Mark, she didn't deny it to me. He nodded slowly, like the weight of it was sinking in. I told her not to come around for a while. He said. My relief was instant, but it came with a pang. A while wasn't enough. Diane's poison had already spread, and I wasn't sure we could contain it. What would you do if a temporary fix left you still exposed? Mark's decision was a step, but it didn't erase the fracture. He was torn, and I felt it in every quiet moment. Lily sensed it too. She'd stopped asking for Grandma, her laughter dimmer than before. I started researching family therapy, hoping we could rebuild what Diane had broken. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Diane wasn't the type to back down, and her silence felt like the calm before a storm. Could we hold our family together? Or was the damage too deep? The truth was out, but the cost was still unfolding, and I braced for what came next. Mark's decision to keep Diane at a distance felt like a fragile victory. But the air in our house was still thick with tension. Lily's quietness haunted me, her once bright giggles now rare, replaced by cautious glances. I'd catch her staring out the window, as if waiting for something to break. Mark was trying, but his heart wasn't fully in it. He'd check his phone, expecting a call from his mom, then sigh when it didn't come. I wanted to trust him, but Diane's shadow loomed, and I knew she wasn't done. Could we really move forward with her poison still lingering? A week later, Diane broke her silence. She texted Mark, asking to see Lily, just to apologize. She wrote. Mark showed me the message. His face conflicted. Maybe she's ready to own up, he said, hope flickering in his voice. I didn't buy it. Diane's apologies were always laced with blame, sorry. But you made me do it. No, I said firmly. Not until she admits what she said. And why? Lily's been through enough. Mark nodded. But I saw the strain in his eyes. He was caught between his mom's pull and my resolve. Have you ever watched someone you love wrestle with a loyalty that hurts them? Mark replied to Diane, saying we needed space. Her response was instant, a long voicemail, her voice quivering with indignation. You're letting Sarah tear this family apart, she said. Lily needs her grandmother. I listened, my blood boiling. She wasn't sorry she was doubling down, painting me as the villain. Mark's face hardened as he deleted the message. She's not getting it, he muttered. For the first time, I felt him shift toward me, but it came at a cost. His mom was his anchor, and cutting her off was tearing him apart. The fallout spread beyond our home. Diane started calling family Mark's aunts, cousins, even Karen, spinning a tale of how I'd banned her from Lily's life. Karen called to warn me. Mom's telling everyone you're controlling, she said. She's rallying the family against you. I felt a chill. Diane wasn't just fighting for control. She was waging war, using guilt and lies to isolate us. I pictured her at family dinners, whispering half-truths, turning people we cared about against us. How do you fight a smear campaign from someone whose family? I sat Lily down, needing to protect her heart. Sweetie, I said, brushing her hair. Grandma's taking a break for now, but you're loved, okay? She nodded, but her eyes were distant. Did I make Grandma mad? She asked. My throat tightened. No, honey, this is grown-up stuff. You didn't do anything wrong. I hugged her, vowing to shield her from Diane's chaos. But the damage was done. Her trust in family was fractured. And I blamed myself for letting Diane get so close. Mark and I made a tough call, no contact with Diane until she sought help. We wrote her a letter, laying out what she'd done and why we needed distance. We want Lily safe. We wrote, "This isn't about punishment. It's about trust." Posting it felt final, like locking a door we might never reopen. Diane didn't respond, but her silence was loud. Family gatherings grew awkward. Some relatives sided with her. Others stayed neutral. Our world felt smaller, lonelier. But I held on to one truth. Lily came first. As weeks passed, I noticed Mark pulling away. His smiles forced. He missed his mom, and I couldn't fill that void. I booked us a family therapist, hoping to mend what was breaking. But I lay awake at night, wondering if we'd ever heal. Diane's words had ripped us apart, and the pieces weren't fitting back together. Could we rebuild? Or had we lost too much? What would you do when protecting your child means breaking your family? The letter to Diane marked a line in the sand, but it didn't bring the peace I'd hoped for. Our home felt like a battlefield after a ceasefire, quiet, but scarred. Lily was slowly rediscovering her laugh, thanks to extra time with my sister, Jess, and her cousins. But Mark's distance grew, his eyes carrying a grief I couldn't touch. I was fighting for our family, but the cost was etched in every strained silence. Diane's absence was a relief, yet her shadow lingered, and I wondered if we'd ever escape it. Could we rebuild? Or had her words broken us for good? Therapy became our lifeline. In our first session, Mark admitted he felt like a traitor to his mom. She raised me alone after Dad died. He said, his voice tight, "Cutting her off feels wrong." I nodded, my heart aching for him. "But Lily's our priority?" I said, "Your mom hurt her. We can't let that happen again." The therapist helped us navigate the guilt and anger. But progress was slow. Mark was trying, but I saw the weight of his choice every time he stared at his phone, hoping for a message that never came. I focused on Lily, enrolling her in art classes to spark her joy. One day, she drew a picture of our family, just me, Mark, and her. "No grandma." "Is this okay?" she asked, her voice small. I hugged her tight. "It's perfect, sweetie." But inside, I raged at Diane for stealing a piece of my daughter's world. I started journaling to process my anger, writing letters to Diane I'd never send. "You hurt my child," I wrote, "but I won't let you define us." It helped, but the wound was still raw. Have you ever had to forgive someone who never said sorry? Weeks turned into months, and Diane stayed silent. Karen updated us. She'd heard Diane was seeing a counselor, but no one knew if it was genuine. I didn't care. My focus was on healing our family, not fixing her. We set new boundaries. No family events where Diane might show up. No contact unless she fully owned her actions. It meant missing cousins' birthdays and holidays. But Lily's safety was worth it. Our circle shrank, but it felt stronger, built on trust instead of obligation. One night, Mark opened up. "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner," he said, his voice breaking. "Mom's always been controlling, but I thought it was love." I took his hand, tears in my eyes. "We're in this together now," I said. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. We began rebuilding game nights with Lily. Quiet dinners where we laughed again. The cracks were still there, but we were learning to fill them with something new. I thought about Diane's words to Lily, how they'd nearly shattered us. They were a wake-up call, forcing me to stand up not just for my daughter, but for myself. I'd spent years shrinking to keep the peace, but no more. Protecting Lily meant claiming my voice, even if it meant losing people along the way. What would you do if you had to choose between family and truth? For me, the answer was clear. My daughter's heart was my compass, and I'd follow it anywhere. This story began with a shocking betrayal my mother-in-law, Diane, told my 6-year-old daughter, Lily. She wished I'd died in a car accident. As Sarah. I unraveled Diane's deep resentment, rooted in her possessiveness over my husband, Mark. Her cruelty wasn't a slip. It was a calculated attack on my place in the family. Confronting her exposed her malice. But Mark's loyalty wavered, torn between his mom and us. We set boundaries, cutting contact until Diane sought help. But the fallout fractured our extended family. Therapy and time helped us rebuild, focusing on Lily's healing and our marriage. Diane's silence persists, but her words no longer define us. This journey taught me to prioritize my daughter's safety over toxic family ties, even at the cost of isolation. It's a lesson in strength. Love doesn't mean enduring abuse. I hope this resonates with anyone facing family conflict. Protect what matters, even if it means hard choices. What would you do in my shoes? Share your thoughts below. And let's keep this conversation going. Like, comment, and subscribe for more real stories that challenge us to stand up for what's right.